Xabi Alonso is officially at Chelsea. Tactical masterclass is dead on arrival unless we build the specific squad and type of players that he wants. Using raw performance metrics from Leverkusen's unbeaten season, I found the exact data profiles required to run the same system, including identifying the ideal attacking partner for Cole Palmer in the final third. But we start immediately at the back. This is where the system either holds or collapses before a ball has been kicked. Let's talk about one of the most unglamorous roles in the system, the middle centre-back in a 3-box-3 system. And they don't even need to be the best footballer in the team, but it's a very important position for the way Xabi Alonso wants to play. At Leverkusen, Jonathan Tah was the template, and he now plays for Bayern Munich and Germany international team. In the Leverkusen unbeaten season, Tah sat in the middle of the back three as the backbone, the holding anchor. He completed 93.7% of his passes and ranked in the 74th percentile for progressive passing volume. But most importantly, he won 93.5% of his aerial duels. But this is the stat that confuses most people at first glance. His possession 1 figure was absolutely tiny. He ranks in just the 10th percentile for possession 1. Which does sound alarming, but obviously they won an unbeaten season, the best team in Europe, you could argue, that season. So once you understand why, that in a dominant team playing a high line, the middle centre-back just holds his shape, wins the first balls, the long balls over the top from the opposition, and does a lot of the anchoring, the organising, rather than jumping out and winning possession, because that leaves gaps, and gaps is the devil of a Xabi Alonso structured backline system. So we're not looking for a ball winner really for this position. We're looking for a brick wall, a player who dominates aerially to kill the long ball transitions, but then can spray diagonals when asked to, and just completes 9 out of every 10 passes. Now Chelsea actually have the answer already. Levi Colwill could fit this profile really nicely, but I personally think the fact he's so good at driving out the back, his passing range is immaculate, he would be better off as one of the more expansive defenders to the left of this anchor to get the best out of Colwill and utilise his left foot, which is a unique thing to have in such a quality centre-back. So the argument isn't if Colwill is good enough to play here. If he needed to, he would do a great job. He's great in the air. He can be a great leader as well. He's earmarked as one of the future captain materials at the club. But personally, looking at the stats, at which we will go through, having the right partner in the middle of the back three in possession and out of possession would get the best out of everyone. Enter Ousmane Diomandé. The Sporting CP centre-back is 22 years old. When you pull up the DataMB radar, next to Tars from his unbeaten season, and by the way, I'm using DataMB for everything in this video, the numbers are almost eerie. 93.6% of his passing against Tar's 93.7. He ranks in the 63rd percentile, while Tar was also in the 63rd percentile. These are not approximations, these are literally clones. Now, it's probably got something to do with the fact that Sporting also play a back three often. The Amorim didn't always last season, but Diomandé is obviously the anchor in the build-up and out of possession as well for Sporting. He's an absolutely physical presence. He plays for Ivory Coast, and then again his possession 1 figure is tiny. He's only in the 6th percentile for possession 1, even lower than Tar, which tells you the same story. He's positionally disciplined, and he will hold the line rather than dive into challenges, which is precisely what Alonso wants out of this player. So having Colwill on the left as the expansive left centre-back, Diomandé in the centre, and then on the right of the three, more of a full-back option. Reece James could do this, Josh Acheampong perfectly. This back three is looking very nice. And then the Chelsea Sporting connection makes this totally realistic. We've signed Giovanni Quenda, Dario Sugo in just the last 18 months, and only the other day Jesse Derry has been sent out on loan, so we're obviously in contact. Diomandé has had suitors. I think he was close to a move to Crystal Palace at one stage not too long ago. It didn't end up happening, but I think Diomandé could be on the move this summer, and he has been on the scene playing as a young centre-back for a good few years now, and he's still just performing better and better. Now there is a viable alternative, Loic Bade, who actually has joined Leverkusen in real life a year ago. He wins 91.8% of aerial duels, providing that elite physical security, and his 96% pass completion makes him a ball magnet in deep build-up. Perhaps better on the ball than Diomandé. He's slightly older, he's 26, he's French, but there's a name that's been heavily linked and we need to address it, Jacobo Ramon from Como. He looks sensational on paper. He was in the Real Madrid Academy, and Xabi Alonso, I'm pretty sure, was his coach at under 14s level or something, so they have a huge history together. Now, Como had an incredible season under Cesc Fabregas. He ranks in the 94th percentile for forward pass accuracy and in the 84th percentile for progressive passing volume. So passing, he is, super. But the defensive data isn't quite up to scratch personally. He is still very young, so you never know. Ramon just wins 23 of his defensive duels, and to put that in context, Jonathan Tah is 50%. He's elite on the ball, great in a deep playmaker role, and it could be something to do with the system why he's not winning loads of defensive duels, but as a percentage, that is normally scaled. So I don't want to see Chelsea spend too much money on Ramon unless they really believe in him and Xabi Alonso is like, get me this guy. We could end up signing 2 centre-backs, as lots of rumours have been saying. But Ousmane Diomandé is my guy. Now, Alonso's midfield pivot was asymmetric by design. At Leverkusen, he paired Palacios, a genuine ball-hunting destroyer, with Granit Xhaka, who barely touched the opposition really, didn't win the ball back too much, but controlled every single phase build-up from deep. That was the engine of the entire system. He was playing really nice balls through the lines into the attacking final third. You have 5 players to defend with, 5 players to attack with. And he was like the leader of the defending 5 and would always give it to Wirtz, who was the leader of the attacking 5 really. Now I think Chelsea already have one half of that pairing absolutely locks down for the next 5-10 years. Moise Caicedo ranks in the 94th percentile for duels and the 78th percentile for possession 1, directly mirroring Palacios' profile as a defensive anchor. He hunts, he presses, he wins the ball, just even better. There's not that many better than Caicedo at what he does best, is there? So now we need the other half of this pivot. The number we're hunting is Xhaka's passing output. In that unbeaten season, he ranked in the 98th percentile for progressing passing volume and ranked in the 100th percentile for forward passes. That is mental. It's a player who never looked backward when the forward option was available and never lost the ball under pressure either. His pass completion rate was 98%. And the obvious answer to get a Granit Xhaka clone is himself, the Sunderland captain we've been heavily linked with. A reunion looked really on the cards for quite a while, to be honest, a good week or so. Alonso knows him inside out, they're meant to be best friends. The tactical fit is perfect, not to mention he would be a great leader that Chelsea could really do with. But Sunderland have made it essentially impossible, and it is fair enough. He's got 2 years on his contract, he is their captain, they're in Europe now, and I think he's changed his mind about leaving Sunderland. So it doesn't look like that's going to be happening. And Chelsea didn't help themselves either. An £8 million opening bid is pretty laughable, to be honest, and quite rude and embarrassing. So finding a clone for Xhaka is what we're about to do. And I found Angelo Stiller. He's the best Xhaka clone on the market for me. Stuttgart midfielder ranks in the 98th percentile of progressing passing volume, putting him in the top 2% of midfielders in Europe and the 97th percentile for forward passes. Those are not similar to Xhaka, they literally are Xhaka's numbers. And his lower defensive volumes mirror the same tactical discipline. He controls the game with positioning and intelligence rather than a physical aggression, which is left to Moise Caicedo. There's also a contract clause worth knowing about. He technically has a €40 million release clause active in 2026, but Stuttgart can pay Stiller €2 million directly to then remove the buyout fee, but they're apparently asking for about €50-60 million anyway, which for a Champions League proven midfield metronome, which is exactly what Xabi Alonso could want. Not to mention he's been playing in the Bundesliga for years. Xabi Alonso will know him well. It just makes total sense for me. But we need to talk about an in-house option. There's so much talk about midfielders at Chelsea, but Valentin Barco is coming from Strasbourg this summer as part of the Blueco network, and his numbers are so interesting. He ranks in the 94th percentile for progressive passing and the 85th for key passes. So he's got elite creative instincts from deep. He's with Argentina at the World Cup right now. They're in the quarterfinals as I speak. The only concern is his forward pass completion rate is 62%, meaning he turns it over more often than Stiller. But he offers really raw creativity from the base of midfield that Alonso could absolutely mould. Adam Wharton has been linked to Chelsea a lot as well, and I think on the surface it does look a bit worrying. Aggressive carries rank in the 34th percentile. His forward pass completion rate sits at a startling 28%. Those are absolutely disqualifying until you look at the Ole Glasner Crystal Palace system context, low possession, vertical passes, and Wharton still ranks in the 92nd percentile for progressive passing and the 95th percentile for key passes, despite the system working against him. He put Wharton in a possession team and that picture changes, I think. But for me, Stiller still edges it as the primary target. I think a Caicedo Stiller pivot would give a precise Palacios Xhaka blueprint. And Stiller's like 26 years old or something, so that's got at least 4 years on it. that pivot that could be absolutely wonderful. He's slightly more affordable than Morton, and if you watch Stiller's highlights, he looks like an absolute Tony Kroos, or even he looks like a Xabi Alonso reincarnated Angelo Stiller. So who would be better? But here's the elephant in the room, Enzo Fernandez. What the data says about him in the double pivot is very interesting, and it could directly change the conversation whether he should be sold. So before we go into the final incoming transfer, we need to have a difficult conversation about some outgoings. I've looked at the stats, and a bloated squad of players that don't fit what Xabi Alonso will want is going to suffocate the team from the inside. There's two names, big names, some fan favourites you could say, that need addressing with the data and not sentiment. This is what the sporting directors do. They take out any emotion from their decision, and they have to be harsh if that's what it's going to be the benefit for everyone. So Trevor Chalobah first, and this is going to hurt. He's a Cobham graduate, a fan favourite. He's fought back from the exit door multiple times. Every manager has trusted him, and he's absolutely delivered. And the hierarchy have always been trying to flog him, basically, because he's a Cobham graduate. It would mean pure profit, which is better on the books, basically. But we need to look at the data to cut through it cleanly. The central anchor role is an immediate no. Jonathan Tah wins 93% of his aerial duels, and Chalobah plummets to just the 22nd percentile, winning less than a quarter of his headers. So that's off the cards. So can he play next to the anchor and be really progressive in passing and build up instead? The wide centre-back is also as demanding. Edmund Tapsoba at Leverkusen, he ranked in the 98th percentile progressive passing and the 97th aggressive carries. Now I'm sure Levi Colwill could do this, Joel Hatto could do this. But you look at Chalobah's numbers, and he's just in the 11th percentile for progressive passes and the 35th for progressive carries. So he can't carry or pass the ball progressively enough to help build up for the team. He's sort of stuck in no man's land. Reports have been heavily linked with him with an exit. Como and Inter Milan have been interested. Apparently he prefers an Inter exit, and I wish him absolutely all the best. I really love Trevor Chalobah, but sometimes you do have to make a tough decision, and if I was a sporting director, he would be out the door. He does deserve regular football. He's a great centre-back, and he deserves a club that would treat him properly, to be honest. But this data basically just confirms what the club had already quietly decided. Now for the one that divides the entire fan base, Enzo Fernandez. And before you react, this conclusion is not what you might expect. So in that double pivot, the Xhaka, Palacios, Caicedo, and hopefully Angelo Stiller if I was a technical sporting director. Enzo's dual win rate sits at 22%, and he ranks in just the 9th percentile for possession won. Now, if he was next to Caicedo, you don't need to be chasing the ball all the time, winning hard tackles all the time, but you need to have something. Otherwise, that pivot is just going to be absolutely run through like, I don't know. And his forward passing accuracy from deep is also a problem. His forward pass completion rate from a deep position 15, meaning he turns over the ball negatively on nearly half of his forward attempts in his own half. Xhaka's equivalent was 98.7%. So I was gonna put this in the video and say, Enzo, he's got to go, he doesn't fit. But then I looked at the data, moving him forwards in the attacking midfield roles behind the striker as the front two in the box midfield. He put him as one of the attacking 10s where Florian Wirtz and Jonas Hoffmann played for Leverkusen. And suddenly the numbers transform. His forward passing percentile climbs to the 82nd. Progressive passing sits in the 86th percentile. Florian Wirtz at the 79th percentile, 93rd in those same metrics during that unbeaten run. So he's pretty much a Florian Wirtz profile being played in the wrong position if he was in the pivot. And then Cole Palmer solves the other half of that equation. He sits in the 94th percentile for progressive carries and 97th for key passes. This was during his 23 campaign under Pochettino, where he was one of the best players in the world. That maps beautifully onto the Jonas Hoffmann creative overload in the right half space. Enzo left, Palmer right, both attacking box in midfield. Enzo arriving late, Palmer making the passes, dribbles, off-ball runs. It worked, and pretty well as well. But the transfer saga that changes the financial picture. Jose Mourinho back at Real Madrid, and reports immediately named Enzo Fernandez as a midfield target. Apparently, there was reports saying Jose was a huge fan of Enzo and he was his #1 target to join him at Real Madrid. But then only a few days ago, Real Madrid issued an official denial of any approach or any interest. Comunicado oficial. But I personally think it could be a negotiation tactic, suppressing Chelsea's £120 million valuation. I don't think it's a withdrawal of interest because everything was pointing towards Enzo Fernandez moving to Real Madrid. So I think this is something to celebrate. It becomes a win-win-win scenario. If Alonso keeps Enzo, pushes him forwards into the attacking 10 on the left, having insane depth, you could get Enzo, you could sign someone that we're about to identify in the next chapter. But if he wants to leave to a different club, or if Real Madrid come back, we get a lot of money, use every penny of the final sale fee that we'll agree. It's going to be a lot eventually, isn't it? You can use his stats and data to justify a high fee. And then that money funds Stiller, a Diomandé at centre-back, and then still leaves room in the budget. But I'm going to leave that one to you. Comment below. It is such a difficult one, Enzo Fernandez. I really have no idea if we're going to see him in a Chelsea shirt by the end of this transfer window for the 2016 campaign at Chelsea. So this final chapter is the signing that makes the whole system and Xabi Alonso's Chelsea click. In the narrow front three, excluding the wing backs, you had the striker, one creative 10 and one off-ball runner that played almost next to the striker, almost higher than the striker, who would make off-ball runs, distract other defenders and just create gaps for other players to exploit. This was Jonas Hoffmann. He was a secret weapon at Leverkusen. His numbers weren't off the chart. I think it was 6 goals, 10 assists. But it did allow the likes of Wirtz, Patrick Schick, Grimaldo, Frimpong to get the numbers and take the credit, really. Hoffmann ranked in the 92nd percentile for non-penalty expected goals plus expected assists, and the 89th percentile for assists, and the 88th percentile for key passes. This was more from intelligent running rather than winning duels or relentless movement and carrying the ball. It's just arriving at the right place at the right moment. So lots of people might like Esteban Palmer or Palmer and another creative attacker, but if you have both that want to receive the ball, play the passes, shoot from distance, it's too symmetric. They're just going to get in the way of each other. You need fluid dynamics to get the best out of the system, cause chaos and goals and win games. I think Palmer would command that right half space as the creative anchor. He can do it all. We've seen Cole Palmer do absolutely everything under the sun. So you don't want another ball to feet playmaker that just creates a traffic jam in the pockets and allows defenders to easily get a foot in. So what you want is someone to run the channels, keep running in behind, stretch the defense, obviously move around. And I've identified quite a few options here. And first one, Mika Götze, looks completely different on the surface to Hoffmann, but when you look at the numbers, it's something that could be very interesting. Götze ranks in the 96th percentile for progressive carries and 84th for completed dribbles. He's a Belgian winger. I think this is his breakout campaign, 20 years old from Ajax. He's a touchline winger who carries the ball, takes on players, and then crosses it in. But when you look at his actual attacking output, he ranks in the 96th percentile for non-penalty goals, displaying the clinical finishing of this shadow striker almost, and the 93rd percentile for non-penalty expected goals and assists. So he's very involved in the final third. So Götze excels in every wide metric precisely because he has everything. Alonso could convert him to play more narrow. His carrying threat, his dribbling success rate, his creativity translate directly into the late arrivals and vertical runs that Alonso would tuck him into in the half space. Just as he did with Amin Adli at Leverkusen. He was a touchline hugging winger before Alonso repositioned him more centrally, and the individual dribbles became more vertical runs and late arrivals into the box. So the numbers under Alonso could change if Mika Götze came in, but in a good way, I think. Now, the luxury name in this conversation personally would be Kenan Yildiz. Again, like Götze, he plays as a touchline winger, taking on players. He can do it all. He can do it all. He's an incredible player. 93rd percentile for progressive carries, 97th for completed dribbles. He is fantastic. And he could also tuck in very nicely next to a Cole Palmer. Those could play off each other. One could run, one could receive the ball. It would be amazing to watch. But Juventus are apparently very, very desperate to keep him for at least another year. And I'm not sure if he would pick Chelsea over other options if there were other options that came in. So Yildiz is a dream. Götze is a realistic deal. But there is a bit of risk involved as Götze is, again, 20 years old. And then the most realistic one, I guess, hopefully, is Morgan Rogers. He's a sensible fullback for me. His progressive carries are in the 67th percentile, showing that he drifts centrally rather than hugging the touchline, which is what Alonso would already want. He is Premier League proven already. He's physically ready. No adaptation period needed. He will know a lot of players. He's best mates with Cole Palmer too. But again, I'm not entirely sure if he would pick Chelsea over other options. I hope he does. that would be amazing to see Palmer and Rodgers behind João Pedro or Emmanuel Omega. But signing a player of this profile would be the final thing to make the profiles click in the Xabi Alonso final third. So pre-season starts very soon. Alonso will have maybe 6 to 8 weeks to implement the football at the training ground and before the competitive football begins. And the faster these profiles are identified and signed, the more time the coaching staff will be able to mold them into exactly what they want and tell them what to do. So that makes this window one of Chelsea's more important ones in recent history, although that is what we end up saying every time a new manager comes in or whatever. The transfers I've got here are kind of realistic, I think. They're identifiable. They would slot in very nicely. Diomandé anchoring the back three alongside Cobble and unlocking both of their best attributes. Stiller sitting next to Caicedo in the pivot, and Mika Götze converted into the left-sided runner, which Enzo Fernandez could do as well if he stays. That is the data-driven blueprint. This is what Blue Code will be looking at as well. Built from the exact statistical fingerprint of the greatest Bundesliga season ever. Masterminded by our own mastermind, Xabi Alonso. Our squad has so much talent. They have built a talented squad. You have to give that to the sporting directors. But they've lacked the actual tactical architecture to use it and get the most out of it. Appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed this video, I think you'll enjoy this one too. Click there and I'll see you there. Goodbye.